Let's bring in the Republican Iowa Senator Chuck Grassley, who serves as the Judiciary Committee Chairman. Senator, thanks for being with us. We know that these are busy days for you.
Yes, very busy. Thank you for having me.
So here's what Emile Beauvais said in part in that memo. Let me be clear. No FBI employee who simply followed orders and carried out their duties in an ethical manner with respect to January 6th investigations is at risk of termination or other penalties. The only individuals who should be concerned about the process initiated by me on January 31st, 2025 memo are those who acted with corrupt or partisan intent, who blatantly defied orders from the department leadership, or who exercised discretion in weaponizing the FBI. What's your take on this clarification here? Was there an overreach or just a misunderstanding?
I think it's a very important clarification. People that are at lower level, not at the supervisory level, have to take orders from their bosses, and if they were told to work on a case, even if they disagreed with the case, they have to work on it. And I think that there ought to be some consideration to that. Now, I've answered journalists here on Capitol Hill on the very same question, that I'm not going to write to the White House now to get information. I'm going to wait until we get Patel in place as head of the FBI and ask him the very same questions that we're talking about here, because those that use the FBI for political weaponization need to be, that's not the role of the FBI. And I think, over a period of 3 or 4 years, I've put out enough evidence, and just 2 weeks ago, emails showing how people at the lower level, but still in a supervisory capacity, were promoting the crimes that presumably Trump did. And that's just not the role of the FBI at the lower levels to do that.
Senator, just to be clear, do you have any issue with what has happened over at the FBI? Because I remember you raising some concern about, the removals of inspectors general and not following process. Do you think that the process was followed here?
Well, I think that I've made very clear that the FBI shouldn't be used for political weaponization. Their job is law enforcement, and anything beyond that has to be cleaned up. And I think Kash Patel is a person that can do that.
So let me come back to something else about the FBI that you and Ron Johnson are very concerned about. You released emails that cast a new light on how the investigation into Trump in the 2020 election began. You write in part, quote, Timothy Thibault, a former FBI assistant special agent in charge who was forced to retire from the Bureau after Grassley exposed his public anti-Trump bias, authored the initial language for what ultimately became Jack Smith's federal case against Trump regarding the 2020 presidential election. Records show Thibault essentially opened and approved his own investigation. The FBI titled the ensuing investigation Arctic Frost, which was then turned over to an official at the DOJ that you claim had a troubling record, and that person approved the investigation going forward. You are very, very troubled about how this whole thing began. Tell us more.
Sure. A person at the level of Thibault was not in a position to instigate any sort of thing. It had to be approved by higher level people, and it wasn't. And my emails show, and also the regulations, the FBI show that Thibault was not in a position to do that. And if he did it inadvertently, he had to show evidence to back up his actions. And none of this stuff happened, and that's why Thibault has no business being in the FBI. But see, we concentrate too much on Thibault. The whole idea is the culture on the 7th floor of the FBI building is that it's okay for FBI agents to promote the challenges and positions against a former president of the United States because he's a political threat. Well, the voters of Iowa, or the voters of the United States on November the 5th, did away with that and proved that he was wrongly condemned. The voters didn't buy it.
Senator, I hear you're pushing back on Democrats' calls to have another hearing for Kash Patel before his confirmation, saying that it's ridiculous that nominees should have to answer for actions by the government before they were ever in place at that agency. But Patel and also our newly sworn-in Attorney General Pam Bondi, pledged against any sort of retaliation or enemies list. And at Bondi's swearing in today, the president said this. Take a listen.
I know I'm supposed to say she's going to be totally impartial with respect to Democrats, and I think she will be as impartial as a person can be. I'm not sure if there's a possibility of totally, but she's going to be as total as you can get, Gianni, right? But she's going to be fair.
Any concern with that? What do you think he meant?
Yes, she's totally a prosecutor by profession. She's going to be the chief prosecutor of our government, and she made very clear that she's going to follow the Constitution and follow the laws and follow the evidence, and there isn't going to be any retaliation. And evidence of that came on the second day of the hearing when we had people in who knew her and worked for her, and we even had somebody that has never voted for Trump testify in favor of her, that she was a person that left politics out of the prosecution.
Just real quick, Senator, do you have the votes to get Patel out of committee and get confirmed by the full Senate?
I've got the votes to get him out of committee, and I think that there's going to be the votes to get him approved on the United States Senate. But I'm going to take a step at a time, and a week from tomorrow, we'll have that vote, and he'll be on the floor of the United States Senate.
All right. Senator, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Chuck Grassley, R. Iowa, revealed Tuesday that the FBI's election-related investigation into President Donald Trump, launched in 2022, swept in dozens of Republican entities, including the late Charlie Kirk's Turning Point USA. Speaking during a hearing focused on oversight of the FBI, Grassley said the investigation, which the Bureau called Arctic Frost, was partisan in nature, and that its expansive scope was evidence of that. In other words, Arctic Frost wasn't just a case to politically investigate Trump, Grassley said. It was a vehicle by which partisan FBI agents and Department of Justice prosecutors could achieve their partisan ends and improperly investigate the entire Republican political apparatus. Since January, Grassley and Senator Ron Johnson, R. Wisconsin, have been publishing records related to Arctic Frost. The investigation launched during FBI Director Chris Wray's tenure that served as the basis for former special counsel Jack Smith to bring criminal charges against Trump related to the 2020 election. Grassley unveiled a new set of documents during his opening statement on Tuesday that showed numerous Republican-affiliated organizations, and people were targeted with subpoenas during Arctic Frost. Some targets on the list were well known, such as Sidney Powell, who made controversial allegations about the 2020 election, and former New York Mayor Rudy Giuliani. But the basis for targeting other groups, like Kirk's group and the Republican Attorneys General Association, RAGA, was less clear. For years, the deep state, unelected Biden bureaucrats, including the FBI, used lawfare to target Republican AGs and many other close friends because we were allies of Donald Trump, RAGA Executive Director Adam Piper said in a statement to Fox News. The Biden administration bastardized the rule of law, gave license to lawless liberals, and did everything possible to kneecap any and all opposition. Republican AGs will work to hold these bad actors accountable and help President Trump restore objectivity to our federal law enforcement and intelligence agencies. Kirk was assassinated last week while speaking during an event at Utah Valley University. He was a prolific conservative activist, and his massive organization remains a part of his legacy. Turning Point USA recruited conservative college students and was heavily involved in promoting election turnout. In the aftermath of the 2020 election, Kirk amplified some of Trump's claims about election fraud. Utah Governor Spencer Cox and Department of Justice leaders have said the suspect in Kirk's shooting, Tyler Robinson, was driven by leftist ideology, but that the investigation remains in an early stage. Authorities said anti-fascist messaging found on bullet casings, Discord messages, and other messages have helped to develop an understanding of Robinson's motive as the investigation continues.